going, yeah, okay, And she went absolutely mad at me. She was like, you're not listening to me, you're paying no attention. And I said, you know what, I'm really sorry. You're absolutely right. I cannot apologise enough. I've got a lot going on, and I've been quite disrespectful in not being present in this conversation. And that was a real kind of lesson learned. We need to practice radical self-care. If you want to be a nurse and go into nursing, okay, and you want to go into care, you really have to look after yourself. What do you do now? What do you do to look after yourself?
Treat ourselves.
Treat yourself?
Yeah.
How, what do you do?
Like whatever feels special, go for like any kind of treatment, I mean.
Yeah? So a nice spa day? Or have your nails done? Or
yeah, things like, yeah.
Anything else?
Travel.
What do you do?
Travel.
Travel?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Have a rest. Yeah, have a rest.
It's like the motto.
So, one of the things that happens, I was saying earlier about we are rubbish at looking after ourselves as nurses, and you're going to be even more rubbish when you become a registered nurse. You have to be really, really tough and look out for yourself to prevent burnout. So Saunders in 2015 basically says, we can all be very different people, okay? But it's a compassion. We may have varying degrees of compassion. Some people, I've worked with people that you think, gosh, you are cold as a fish. No compassion, no warmth, just very matter of fact. I would like to think I'm quite a compassionate person. But that's a quality that we can all develop through experience, through learning. Our ability to kind of identify with people and their trauma and suffering and distress, okay, will vary. And again, that's about you as a person, your background, your learning, your exposures and experiences. If we are compassionate to ourselves, then we will be compassionate to other people. And that's a message that I cannot stress enough to you at this very early stage. Look out for yourself, look after yourself, care for yourself. You are valuable, you are important. Do I want somebody who is overworked, tired, stressed, not sleeping, not eating properly, caring for me? No, I really don't. Because I would be worried that that person, maybe isn't concentrating, doesn't see the value in themselves, so why would they see the value in me? The reason that you have this session, okay, is that it is recognised by the Nursing and Midwifery Council in the UK and through nursing agencies like the Royal College of Nursing, that actually, if we teach you about this stuff, we're more likely to reduce something called compassion fatigue. Just imagine, as a qualified nurse, you're on a 7-day stretch, you're short-staffed, there's loads of admissions, it's really busy. You start work on the Monday morning, you've had 4 days off, you come in on the Monday morning. Do you think by the time you finish at 9 o'clock on day 7 that your compassion is going to be as high as it was when you started? It really isn't. Not unless you look after yourself, have your breaks, eat properly, do something nice. compassion fatigue can set in, and that's when we start to encounter problems, where people come across as uncaring, things get missed, bad things happen. So students of nursing, whether you are at this point or at degree and ready for qualification, Keo says that you're at real risk, okay, of emotional exhaustion before you even get started. When you qualify, the first 18 months of your nursing career is when you are more likely to quit the profession than any other time in your career. And the reason for that is that it's exhausting. You're training, you're on placement, you're having to learn new things, do presentations, assignments, get a qualification. You're exhausted before you even started. And then we say to you, right, here's your NMC PIN number, go and be a nurse. Who drives here? Anyone drive?
Sometimes I don't really.
I'm not asking for a lift, don't worry. So, do you remember your driving lessons?
Yeah.
Did you have driving lessons in this country?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I remember my driving lessons, and I was told, hands at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, you have to hold the steering wheel like that, you've got to do all these things, and you know, all of. Do you drive like that now?
No.
Because I know I don't. That's why I've got 6 points on my license. What a driving test or driving lessons do is prepare you to pass your test. Once you've passed your test, that's when the real learning takes place.
Yeah, true.
You know, I've driven now all around the country. Whereas when I was learning, I drove around Withington. Withington was a place that I didn't know because I didn't live in Withington, which is in Manchester. But I drove all around it to learn how to drive. And I took my driving test there. You know, I've never had a lesson on the motorway. So what we're doing is educating you about how to become a nurse. And then when that happens, you have to find your own way, you have to keep learning, get new information, new skills, new knowledge. That's quite a stressful thing. We need to make sure that we feel valued, okay? And we need to make sure we feel valued throughout our entire career. So I've been very fortunate. I've worked in the NHS in this country for 25 years, and I felt valued throughout my career. That's why I've stayed as a nurse in the NHS for 25 years. It's really important, and I think people underestimate how important that is. If you do not feel valued in your workplace, are you going to deliver compassionate care? Really not. Will you be working in the UK when you, is that the plan, or are you going to work in different countries?
In the UK.
Yeah, in the UK.
You in the UK. If you're going to work in the UK, you're in a really fortunate position. Okay, and you're in a fortunate position because we have a crisis in nursing. In mental health nursing, we are short 40,000 registered mental health nurses. In adult nursing, we are short around 80,000 nurses. You can pick and choose where you want to work, you can pick and choose your job. When I qualified, I had to go and work in an acute psychiatric unit because there weren't jobs anywhere else. The only jobs were there. Whereas you can choose, and that gives you power. Because if you go and work in an environment where it's not compassionate, you're not looked after, you don't feel valued, well, you can go. You can move on.
Rachel, can I ask?
Hello.
What were the things that made you feel valued in the NHS?
What are the things?
Yeah.
I think it's about feeling that you're being heard.
Right.
I think it's about, if you are raising a concern or something's worrying, that you're being listened to. I think the other thing is about respect.
Right.
So I've worked with some consultant psychiatrists who thought nurses are not worth talking to, or senior members of staff when I was very, very junior that, oh, who are you? That doesn't make you feel valued. I've worked with people who, what do you think? Wow, what? You want to know what I think? That's really important. I think the other thing is about that teamwork. That you are valued within a team, that you're not isolated. It's a good question. I get bonus points.
Thank you.
So, that's why we're kind of here and having these discussions today. So, as healthcare professionals, there's a correlation between self-compassion and emotional intelligence. Do you know what emotional intelligence is? It's okay if you don't. You're nodding.
I think I
Do you
read
understand?
in NHS Academy. We have a training in NHS Academy. It was emotional intelligence. I think I did some note, but I forgot, to be honest.
I don't know the definition, but
So emotional intelligence, whilst looking at your notes, is very much about how we view the world, see the world, and understand the feelings of what's going on around us. So again, it comes back to that Maya Angelou quote of stepping into another man's shoes. Please.
Yeah, it's more about self-awareness, self-management.
Yeah.
It's more about to calm down and later take action when you are really calm, not in situation when you are really angry.
Yes.
And you wanted to try. And social awareness is one
So it's
of them.
about, I think good. Well taken note. Sounds like a good session. So, the more we are compassionate about ourselves, the more we are emotionally in tune with the wider world. So again, these are kind of like, people who are self-critical, experience greater stress in challenging situations. If you're going into nursing, you're going to be going into challenging situations. You should know that. And then some. Okay? So, as a consequence, we need to think about our compassionate presence in those difficult and challenging situations. Okay? I used to work with a nurse who my heart would sink when I came on duty and she was there. She was a lovely lady. She was lovely with the patients, but when it got stressful, her reaction was, "Oh my God, oh my God!" And if you're working in that, it makes you stressed, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It makes
true.
you very anxious. It's not great. So let's think about what gets in the way of us being compassionate. Okay? So it might be that, we start to become defensive and develop defences about things. So it might be that there's an external threat to us. So in 25 years of the NHS, I cannot begin to tell you how many times we had a new government that brought in new legislation, new policies, new ideas about how the NHS should be run. And that's really stressful. And when you're going through that,